Consciousness is a state of being when an individual is awakened to their place, historically, culturally, socio-politically, and spiritually in the diaspora.
In 1996, I was watching a PBS documentary on transportation, and it spoke about RAIL, real transportation in America. And when it went off, did not mention anything about black history, contributions in that area. African Americans didn't no part in that. So that took me back when I was a child. Like I told you, it goes back to when I was a child. And I said, suppose a young man, a little boy, a little melanated boy or girl was watching this, and they'll think that we didn't do anything. So my motto is not to dwell on the negative, is move on the positive. So what did I do? I wrote something called The African Presence in Transportation. I didn't want to start it with slavery, because no one's history should begin in slavery. I'll say that again. No one's history should begin in slavery. And so I began in Africa, and I started sharing the contribution we made in Kush, Kemet, Egypt, they call that's another name, dealing with caravan, travel, warfare. And then I got into the Phoenicians, who were excellent navigators, and they navigated the seas and created nautical instruments to improve their journeys and be more accurately, and maps. And so then I spoke about when Christopher Columbus came to the shores of North America, his flagship was navigated by the Nino brothers. They were Moors. So every time he came to the shores of North America, the Moors, the Nino brothers, they navigated those ships. And the Moors, who are the Moors? We're the Moors. Then so I started speaking about the stagecoach drivers, because that was a time the stagecoach was big. We needed that for transportation, and there was quite a few black stagecoach driver in that space. And then we speaking about inventors. And so I came across Andrew Baird with the automatic coupling device, Elijah McCoy with the automatic lubricating device, Granville T. Woods. And I was amazed by him, because those men, other two men, they were mechanical geniuses. But Granville T. Woods, not only was he a mechanical genius, but he was electrical genius as well. And he was a prolific inventor, and his inventions revolutionized communication and transportation. And so I was truly amazed by him. And at that time, they were speaking about, in 1998, they were speaking about the New York City subway inception, because in New York City, the subway was built, being constructed in 1900, and they didn't complete it till 1904. So in the year 1998, they began speaking about the pioneers that played a part in the subway inception. And there was no mention of people that looked like me, melanated people like us. And so I went on a fact-finding mission to connect Granville T. Woods' electric railway systems to the New York City subway system. And it took me 6 years to connect that. That was my challenge, a paper trail to connect his inventions. To say it is one thing, but to show evidence, that's another thing. So I started going around to the Schomburg Centers, where I began my research. Then I went to the Public Library on 42nd Street. Then I went to the Science and Technology on 34th Street. Then I went to Columbus, Ohio, where he was born. I went to Cincinnati, where he began his inventive career. But the main place I found his information was at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. There's a National Archives in Washington, but there's also one in College Park, Maryland. And so in that space, it dealt with patent interference cases. And a patent interference case is when an inventor have an idea and another inventor have an idea, and they're interfering with each other to get that patent. So you got to get a patent examiner to find out who has priority over that invention. And so he was able to prove that with another inventor, Lucius Phelps, and he won the case against Lucius Phelps because he had sketches to document what he did and had people autograph his sketches. He also had 5 models because he would make a model of the invention and then demonstrate it in public. So he did that for not only to document it, but also to seek venture capitalists to buy into that, to help support the idea, to put it on the market, to patent the invention and help put it on the market. Of course, they was going to get a profit out of that, a percentage out of that. And so he was wearing more than just one hat. He had to be his own marketing agent. He had to be his own draftsman because he put the sketches. And he had to demonstrate the invention and go out and speak about it. So he was promoting his invention because at that time, they like even now, they have a predisposition that black people is not smart as they are. But they're terribly wrong time and time again. And even after it's been proven, they're still running around like they're all of that. But that's another subject that's dealing with ego and living in a false sense of reality. That's what it is. Basically, in that space, they're obsolete because there's no such thing as white. But white people are basically at a small percentage, and they're getting to engage with people of color. So when that happens, that person is no longer white. So they basically are endangered species, and they can't stop because time is linear. So the longer and longer we go, it ain't gonna be no more so-called, what they say, white people, which is all man-made construct. But anyway, that's something they gotta worry about and sleep on and fear. Black people don't worry about that kind of stuff because we know the real deal. We the original man, and everything comes out of us. And so, but anyway, it's not to get too, big-headed. You still got to work with your people and utilize the knowledge in a very constructive fashion. And so, getting back to Woods, I began to go to the National Archives and read that material. But guess what? I only had a little bit of time because I had to get back on the job. They didn't tell me to go do this and do that. This is something I had to do on my own. Okay? And so, but I had found my purpose, and that's what I was doing. It was a purpose, a divine purpose in me to do what I'm doing. And that was really where it all began, when I really took ownership of that and I dedicated myself. And I dedicated myself so much that my wife and I was having problems. She said, well, you love him so much, sleep in another room with him. I'm telling you, a woman is something else when you don't give them that attention now. And she wasn't getting the attention that she wanted from me. So we get in these little arguments. But I still had to stay dedicated. And I was able to connect that Granville T. Woods Electric Railway with the New York City subway system. And for the opening of the subway centennial operation, a century of progress in motion, they gave me the mic on the opening day at MTA headquarters in April. And I humbly thanked everybody. And I also, they also made an exhibit, a Granville T. Woods exhibit, with it was 4 panels, because there were so many inventions, so I choose 4 panels, and I got my graphic artist. He was working with this transit system graphic artist, and they made a beautiful exhibit based upon my brain work, and that was exhibited throughout the MTA for about 2 years, especially for 1 year. I think it was 1 year, and then they gave it back to me. And so then I started going out, and people started saying, you should start a foundation. And oh yeah, not only did they make the exhibit, the commemorative exhibit that year, and that was part of the subway centennial. There was a lot of things, but that was a part of it, and I was proud to do that. And they also made 4 million Metro cards. 2 million was in Spanish, and it said, this self-educated African-American inventor made subway travel possible in New York City when he patented the third rail system for conducting electric power to railway cars. The Schomburg Center put that on there, and they gave me a Metro card, a big one. And then people told me to keep up the good work, and then I was able to get a street name for him in Coney Island, in 2008, and I also got Granville T. Woods inducted into the Coney Island Hall of Fame for electrifying the roller coaster. He's the one that modernized the roller coaster. Why? Because he was an electrical genius. And then I did a documentary in 2010, and I won a Telly Award. I don't know what people know what a Telly Award is. That is the same people that do an Oscar and they do an Emmy. The same people that makes Oscars and Emmys, they make Tellys, but Tellys are for documentaries, which is even more important because it's about real life. It's not just about an entertaining thing, it's about somebody's life. And so I was proud to have that documentary. And so people started telling me to do, begin my foundation. And so I did. And then I started getting books to raise consciousness. I started getting t-shirts on Granville T. Woods, and I began getting other t-shirts to uplift my people. I started getting puzzles and board games. I started getting coloring books. And so I started learning how to frame and put in some beautiful mosaic pictures from this artist named Brian Collier. He has some beautiful award-winning children's books, and he's also an artist, and I was getting stuff from him, and I'm still doing that. So I have resources about Black heritage / Black history for all ages. So when I bring my stuff down, that's another way I can raise consciousness about our glorious history, our courageous history, our golden legacy, and also raise consciousness for my grassroots foundation.